All right. Hey, welcome everybody to today's special episode of the Profit Acceleration Secrets podcast. And today we are conducting a profit acceleration coaching session. And I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Christie Rankins. Christie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine, Jarvis.
All right. Well, Chrissy, just for our audience, I just want to go ahead and let it be known. We've had some conversations in the past. Chrissy, I am so excited to see you again, to see you still pushing things in your business. And I really appreciate you coming on. Let's have a great conversation today. So thank you so much.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
All right. So, Christy, before we officially just dive into everything that we're going to talk about, please just take a moment to introduce yourself. Give us an overview of everything that you're doing in your business.
Well, I'm Christie Rankins. I am the founder and CEO of Redress Live and Logistics, where we provide services for women that have been incarcerated, those that are transitioning out of incarceration, and those simply women that, want to regain their footing back within their communities.
All right, fantastic. And I remember, I mean, from our original conversations, just that focus of what you just said, helping people who made mistakes kind of regain their footing and launch new career paths. Your heart centeredness, business focus. I remember that just really touching me because of the communities I've come from and grown up in myself personally. I'm curious to ask Chrissy, can you give us a little bit more backstory? So what even got you to make that a focus for business?
What I always tell people, I said all my degrees are in criminal justice. So within that realm, I did not go into it like I thought I would. I actually wound up in food service at a regional youth detention center. You see the kids and then you're there and they're released and it's like, okay, then you're back. So what caused you to come back? So, you talk to the kids. I mean, of course we fed them well, but if you want to get really technical and, get down to some things, you might want to give them something a little extra so they'll talk. So these two particular little boys, we always saw them and I'm like, okay, they left and then it's like they're back. The one little boy said basically we fed them better there than he did at home. So he said that was his reasoning for coming back, and his mom had some struggles that she was going through. So the other gentleman was like, hey, he felt like he was a burden on his mom. She had done, some time within the criminal justice system. So he felt like he was better there and he was safer within that environment than being home with her. So I'm just like, okay. And this was years and years ago, Jarvis, years and years ago. So, you go ahead, you still think about these things within those criminal justice things, because every once in a while, you talk to your other colleagues and it's like, okay, so I wind up, my son was in Head Start at the time. So with him in that environment, they sent out a flyer and say, hey, if you want to get your Class B CDO license, then you need to connect with the people at the main office. So I did that on a Monday. I actually went there on a Tuesday, and she was like, okay, you got the next day. Everyone else was already there. We get there, we do our pre-trip, our prep and everything to get our permit. And from there, it was history. You meet people, you see that there's other agencies that were sending people there, which I did not know at the time. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know that they were sending people there to get their licenses. So like I said, you see them, you see the women on the streets, and it's like, okay, we've got to do something to build that gap. But what really touched me was this one woman. She was married for 20 plus years. Her husband and her did divorce, and she was a homemaker the whole time, which means she didn't have any skills outside of the home because she went to college and everything, but she didn't work outside of the home. So with her doing that, she found herself in a situation to where she needed to be able to provide for herself because the children were grown at that time. So what she did was she went and got her CDL. And she drove school buses with me. And I'm just like, okay, so this is definitely something that we can help, the women with, because right now we still do need drivers. So I always tell people, I said, if you're driving a school bus, it's an accountability piece for me. One, your kids leave with you in the morning, and then they come back home with you in the afternoons. So it's accountability for you as well as accountability for them. So I think that's where it lies for me, with being on that strong emphasis with keeping people out of the criminal justice system and putting them into the transportation industry, where there are many different things that they can do within that industry. So we are geared up and ready to help these women, to regain their footing back into their communities. And if they, one of the things to do is you have to show that you're stable within yourself, mind, body, and soul. So that accountability comes into effect as well with making sure that they have the therapy sessions that they need, mental health therapy, counseling, life stabilizers, skills. Because my thing is, I need you to be fully engrossed in yourself, and deal with certain things that may have landed you in that situation. So that's why we say you need to have these things done prior to you getting behind that commercial vehicle, because I'm not going to be safe on the road knowing that, hey, maybe you have some issues that weren't dealt with. So in order to get you to that point, you have to go through certain stages to get you prepared to embark on that bigger journey, which is to make sure that you are able to take care of yourself first. Because if you can't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be fully well capable of taking care of your kids once you get them out of the system, if they went in the system, or from a family member. They're going to make sure that you are stable.
No, it's fantastic. And Chrissy, so I do a lot of work personally with coaches and trainers and folks in this world. So I do want to give you so much credit for not just saying, we're going to get people's licenses, but we're going to take this very holistic approach. Though, again, just some of the things I remember from our previous conversations. I would love to dive a little bit deeper just onto the business side of what you're building. So can you tell us a little bit more about the services and the products that you're going to be helping these folks, and how you're getting them connected with career opportunities past your program?
Okay, correct. So we are in the process of building everything out. So we're networking, with the chaplains that are that are over the transitional housing that the people are going into. And one of the main components that they are needing coming out is housing. So, you'll start with that housing piece, checks and balances, get them in and partner with the different people who offer the services. Because again, you can't offer everything for everybody. So most people go in and they try to do it all in one component, but you can't. There's no way that I can offer everything for them. So once they're in the transition house, that'll be followed up under the nonprofit. At that point, it will be a logistics organization that has commercial driver training. So it keeps you in that logistics standpoint before you come over to the commercial driving thing with either maybe you want to get forklift certification, maybe you want to learn to be a driver coordinator, maybe you want to learn dispatching. These are other things that you can do. Maybe you want to learn the ins and outs of working at a warehouse. So those are things that keeps you in that industry as well, but it also prepares you to look at things differently once you come over to decide to get your Class B CDL license. And we're partnering with other places like the schools, the school districts, UPS, FedEx, anybody, MARTA, anybody that has Class B CDL type vehicles. That way, once you're out of the program, we're gearing it up to be like 6 months to a year. It just depends on that first component, which is making sure that your mind, body, and soul ready to transition into something different. Dictates how you go into it, either 6 months or a year. So once you do that and you're ready to go, we put you into the program. And the other component that we're also working on is we would like to actually go in and at least box trucks for these people if they want their Class B license and they've achieved it. At least the box trucks. And from that component, they can just drive for us local in Georgia. Because if they're coming out of incarceration, they may be on probation or parole, which means they will not leave the state of Georgia. So that keeps them in Georgia. One, then you may see some other cities and towns that you haven't seen. So it's still more of a piece that lets you see different things from a different perspective. And for those that may not be able to acquire their Class B CDL, they can still drive for us as non-CDL holders, which means they still go through some of the training, such as defensive driving, how to fully operate the vehicle, just like you would need the same training if you were a CDL holder. So that still keeps them in that whole realm with within transportation, because transportation, there's enough money in this business for everybody. So you can't just do everything. So we're hoping to get them there, even if they want to go into the whole compliance side. That's big, especially with mobile drug testing. So we want to be able to offer that too as well, because there's some nice money that's in mobile drug testing, because sometimes you may need to get somebody drug tested on the spot and you may not have the capability within your organization. Hey, you can just call up one of our partners and they'll just come right on over and, conduct that drug test for you, which makes things easier. So the whole point is to keep them within transportation in some type of fashion.
All right. So again, I love what you're doing, because again, we're talking about a population of folks here in the US that in theory, right, have served their time and they are looking for the opportunities to rebuild, reestablish their lives. So again, I love that community. I mean, you're right at the forefront of some community initiatives, but creating career opportunities. Love what you're doing. Christy, the goal of our conversation today is really just to talk about any opportunities to uncover, business growth or other strategies that will help this entire mission that you're on to serve. Let's just say, if we have a great conversation today, we come up with a few strategies that are going to absolutely be beneficial to what you're building. What does your business look like in the next 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months. The whole thing, Jarvis, is we start here in Georgia. Most people are going to want to be like in the major cities. My thing is, there's other cities outside of Atlanta that where the jail population for women is a little more dense than what it is here. My thing is, you have to take into account that those same people need our services. They just may not can get to Atlanta to where we are. So my thing is, you need to be able to have people that can represent those other smaller entities. And the bigger picture, Jarvis, is to my thing is, I said, once this model is built out and everything's perfected, that doesn't keep us from doing anything but expanding to other states as well. So that way you can, like I said, start with the smaller cities. It doesn't have to be in the major city hub for me, because again, those smaller cities need the same services for those people that, have served their time. I mean, my thing is, don't sentence them again for something that they've already been sentenced by them not being able to have the resources available to them to come out and be successful once they're out. So 6 to 12 months, we want to be fully operational, i.e. we want to already have our transitional house set up, already know and already have built that rapport with the women that we know are getting out in that time frame. And that way, they're transitioning in. And once they're in the house, my thing is, there's no time for you to be idle. As in, you come in, the next day we're hitting the ground running, whether that's you're volunteering over here, whether that's us taking you to make sure that your healthcare services are set up. That way, you already have something that's structured. That way, you're not just sitting there trying to figure it out. So the whole thing is to make sure everything's set within the next 6 to 12 months. So that means we're moving forward with getting our first set of women back to wholeness.
Nice. All right, fantastic. Well, Christy, teach us this then, with that vision to, solidify the model here in Atlanta, to start to expand to other parts of the state and then further past that. What are 2 or 3 of the biggest challenges that are, just right there in front of you that you're dealing with today? I'd love to just dig in on that and, see what we can figure out for you.
The biggest challenge is funding, since it is on that non-profit model, Jarvis. I'm trying to figure out how to maybe put the CDO training portion on the for-profit side and keep everything else under the logistics organization underneath the non-profit side, because it still keeps you within that educational component. So it's more so about funding, because we do need money to acquire the vehicles that we need to train. And with the added component of needing people to take the ELDT, which is the new thing that's been enacted like 2 years ago, that they need to do before they even get to that component, because it has to be uploaded to FMCSA and into DDS to say that, hey, they've taken these, they've got these hours in, so now they can fully go on to acquire their license. So all these things cost money. Sure. So that's where the problem is. The biggest thing is the funding to get the vehicles. We need to be able to get a home, which is what I said with the home component, Jarvis, was Atlanta's got plenty of hotels and motels that they're just sitting there idle and people are vandalizing them. I see. My thing is, you donate it to a nonprofit. It's a nice tax write off. So why wouldn't the county or the city want to do that? One, you put into a good use for a population that needs it the most. And
Mhm.
two, I mean, you're helping somebody else help themselves to get back on their feet where they are. So it's like checks and balances for me. My thing is they're helping us with helping them, and we're helping you by, you know, that space being open to other people, and it's just not sitting there idle, going down. You're still paying taxes on it. Well, we are paying taxes on it because that's what we do as taxpayers. So the thing is, why not want to offset that? There's a
Right.
lot that goes into that. So it's more of the funding, the home portion, being
Sure.
able to have a place to actually train them, which we're partnering with someone to do the classroom portion, but we still need space to do the behind the wheel, and the square footage is where the problem's coming in at,
Mhm.
where it's just like, okay, we know we need this space in order to get you behind that wheel to train.
Okay.
So it's more, everything boils down to money at this point, Jarvis. Everything.
All right. So a couple of different, I guess, thoughts that kind of pop in my head. Let me ask the question first. So, can you share with us what have you done for funding opportunities so far? What's been the checklist of items that you've already gone through?
Since the nonprofit, I literally launched this and signed up December 31st. Literally,
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
just like, hey, this has got to get done. It's that way I can say that, hey, we fully did something before the year was out, which was on my mind to actually get the nonprofit at least started on the paperwork portion. So while we wait for a tax exempt, I'm just building those relationships with the appropriate personnel. So as far as getting any type of funding, I've been applying for grants that I see. Some of them require you not to have tax exempt status, and some of them
Hmm.
do, which is perfect because we're not tax exempt yet. We're waiting for the IRS to go ahead and be like, okay, yes, we've reviewed your application, and from this point, we decided that you check all the boxes. So
Okay.
it's just basically finding grants that are, even though they're small things. My thing is, small grants, you still apply for those because every dollar adds up to a bigger amount for me.
Cool.
So it's just applying for the grants, networking with people, who have more of a face in the communities than what I do. Maybe they know somebody who has office space, the training space that we can use. So it's more about networking and looking for grants until we can get to the point to where we can be like, okay, yeah, it's time for us to fully engage in fundraising, because once our tax exempt status is in, then we, at that point, we need to skyrocket because everything needs to be pulled together at once.
All right. So a couple of things, Christy. After our call here, I
Mhm.
just wrote myself a note, but don't let me forget. I'll send you my resource list of grants. It's just a normal part of the research I do because of the clients that I am fortunate to serve.
Okay.
I'll send that over to you, and if that can start to point you in some great directions with grant opportunities, then I hope that's helpful. Um, Quick win. Anything that you need for training space, just call me. Um, here, I because I do so many workshops and training things all over the city here. I got places that can literally be no cost in most cases, and I know places that can probably attract some very high end sponsor opportunities. So
Perfect.
I was gonna make, I want to say I think sponsors more than grants could be a really, really dope opportunity for what you're trying to build.
Okay.
I think it's going to be, look at the stakeholders who are going to benefit from you helping this population of women get back on their feet and create new opportunities. Of course, I think a lot of that comes with assuring them, yes, these women, they got passed, but we all got to pass, right? So
Correct.
what we're looking for, hey, we have a training program, we put them through counseling, we do our part to help clean up the trauma, and now they need the opportunity. So I think we can talk about both of those. So again, I'm just saying these are quick wins, training facilities. I don't want that to be a problem for you.
Okay.
Um, one of the things, and this was a conversation I was just having with a client last week, is that we have to start thinking of our nonprofits as businesses.
Correct.
So, are there any products or services that you can offer as a part of the nonprofit that you can sell to potential stakeholders, customers, as a part of what you're building? So, if
I thought
you know,
about that as well. And
okay, all right,
similar that my the trainer who does the Action CDL, which is retired MARTA 20 plus years.
mm,
My thing is everyone who has a transportation company, you need to be able to teach your people basically defensive driving behind the wheel. So say
mm,
they've gotten tickets or something. So you dive into that whole part of maybe they need a refresher training. And I've said, hey, that's something that we can offer on that nonprofit end that generates funds as far as the CDL. Maybe they prepping for testing. We can do that as well. We can help you prep for your testing. Like I
perfect,
said, if you need
perfect.
drivers who, like I said, need to train and they need to work on their on the road driving, we can do that as well.
Nice. All right. So I would, definitely recommend Christie then build the nonprofit arm of the business, just like any quote unquote normal business. I think a lot of nonprofit leaders see themselves as this community felt, heartfelt type of organizational model, where the reality is if you don't make a profit margin, then you do not achieve your mission. So
Correct.
no margin, no mission, right? So definitely if you guys can frame up a training program or all these other things, I think that would be really great. I would also say, have you considered strategic alliances as a part of this model?
And I'm going to be truthful with you about that. My thing is, if I contact you because another contact gave you, made that connection between the two of us,
Mhm.
and you're more interested in acquiring me to just build something within your organization, that's something that I shy away from because that wasn't how the conversation started and it's not where it was geared. It's
Okay,
basically the question was, I was, connected to you because you have knowledge that I don't have. So that's what it was. I needed to get the knowledge from somebody, but they were more interested in trying to get me to just come over and build out their program. And I said, I don't think this is for me. But then you think about it, and you have to try to figure out how to structure it to where it works for both
for
businesses.
both.
And
Correct.
that's the component that I truthfully could not figure out at that time because that's not where my mindset was. And I said, I revert back to that. I'm like, okay, maybe it could work. It just has to be strategically done to where, again, both parties benefit from those services.
Well, so I would say, and I'm going from this is a gut call right here, um, but groups like the Goodwill.
And
So,
that's the
oh,
one that was there at the training when I did my CDL because I've had my CDL 10 years. They were
okay,
there. So I know they send their people actually to this particular organization to train. So
okay,
see that I did know, and that was a good thing.
all
Them and
right,
somebody else said something about United Way, Salvation Army, and those things. Because matter of fact, we did Salvation Army a while back, and I didn't know that they had a program for people that had been incarcerated. I didn't know that, and
mm,
people that were recovering from some type of drug addiction. I did not know that
okay.
until my mom stopped in and she was looking for a table for her new apartment, and I'm just like, aha! So that could be another
So,
partnership.
no, I would encourage you. Over in Tucker, there is the Goodwill that has a huge training facility, and they do a lot of workforce development.
Barnesville Highway.
But then a lot of the cities have local workforce development offices as well.
Mhm.
So, Christy, I would say reach out to these groups and get an appointment to have a conversation with the folks who are directing those programs. But the question that you ask them is, hey, what's your biggest struggle? What's your biggest need, right? So to your point, we don't want to go in and pitch, right? We want to sit back and first understand what are their goals, what are they trying to work through. So then how can I tie my goals into theirs? And now that's that relationship that you're talking about. So help me help you, help me help you, help, right? That's the mindset. But yeah, I would say, what you're building, it is very much in alignment with those types of programs. Now it's, what are their goals? How can I connect it to my goals? How can we push it forward together? So that would be a form of strategic partnerships, coming up with programs, where you can offer and sell, make money off of training in other venues, um, creating a network of training locations. Like I said, I'll circle back with you on that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a few more things, but let me stop there and just get your initial thoughts. I mean, how are some of these ideas sounding for you?
Actually, there are things, you're mentioning things that I didn't hadn't even thought about, which is perfect. And some of the other ones that just lets me know that I need to revert back to my original thought. Because you know how somebody can tell you something and it'll take you away from what you originally thought. But then
Yeah,
my thing is, if it resurfaces a second time, I'm a firm believer that that means you were on the right track the first time. You
yes,
just
ma'am.
have to put the other things out of your head that weren't necessarily, maybe something that just wasn't meant for you. So I'm gonna revert back to some of those other things and make that list of people that I need to call and contact that have those programs with those or the organizations,
Yeah,
and see if we can make those alliances with them and go from there. Because, like I said, the training portion is something that they'll always need. You always
yeah,
need training. You can't just expect people to go into something and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be fully functioning." No, you do need training in order to be able to get there. So no, the fact that you said that, I said, "Ha, I was just thinking like I had already thought." I said, "Let me
all right,
revert back to that same thing, seeing that you said that."
all
So no,
right.
I know
Hey,
it's
that
about the Goodwill and Tucker, the big one with the nice career center on Lawrenceville Highway, because I'm
correct.
a DeKalb County resident. So them and I don't know who it somebody else that we known at Goodwill. I've got to get back with the other person who has that connection, and definitely think about Salvation Army and see who's over their programs and sit down and talk with them and see how we can do some networking.
All right. And then are you a member of any of the chambers in the areas out here?
I am. I am a member of Atlanta Black Chambers, as well as I'm a stakeholder at Rice.
Okay. Have you done a ribbon cutting event? At least with the Atlanta Black Chamber, have you done a ribbon cutting?
No, I haven't even thought about that ribbon cutting event.
Yeah, that's free publicity right there.
But my thing is, don't I need to be fully fledged, ready to rock and roll with the ribbon cutting?
I would say reach out to them and let them know, hey, I am a local business owner. This is what my business is, and I want to do a ribbon cutting and stop there.
Okay.
Let them kind of dictate, oh, well, are you ready? Are you open for business? Blah, blah, blah. But go ahead. What I think a lot of your opportunity is going to center around, Christy, is just publicity. People need to know you exist.
Okay.
And once they understand, your business model, your mission, then they can determine how best they can get behind you. Um, and I would say, I mean, sponsorships. I think I started saying that, and I kind of veered from that idea. But if this is me challenging you, Christy. I would set a goal to say, hey, how can I get 50 to $100,000 of corporate sponsorship dollars to support everything that I'm trying to build? And I'm just making up company names right now. But if organizations like, Home Depot have a vision for providing housing to mothers in the situations that you're going to be supporting, they
Mhm.
might be willing to get behind you with 10, 20, 30 plus $1,000, from a corporate sponsorship point of view. But I look for those types of high level corporate groups that are willing to put their mark behind everything you're trying to build as well. So I think a corporate sponsorship program in addition to grant programs, I think would be really, really interesting.
And I didn't think about the corporate sponsorship, so it's good that you. We'll have to talk about what that actually looks like, paper wise.
All right. And I'm working out some processes. I have a couple of clients that are in a corporate sponsorship mindset right now. With all my clients, I tell them if I'm going to coach them up on something, it has to be something that I'm willing to test out even in my business. So I'm working out some really unique corporate sponsorship strategies right now. So the answer is absolutely, Christie. If it's going to help you kind of tackle the first couple of sponsors to attract into what you're doing, we'll stay connected as I wrap this process up for my clients right now.
Perfect. Because I mean, my thing is trying to get the county connections is hard. As like you go to networking events and you'll see them, and then they'll transfer you to their people. But then my thing is, if they're no longer running for office or if they didn't win, it's hard to keep that line of communication open to get the information that you spoke about previously. So I'm dealing with that as well.
Well, I wanted to drop one more kind of networking connection. I would include economic development officers for the various cities around here. Those folks tend to have very unique inside connections and understandings about what is needed given their side of town. So if it's down in South Fulton, for example, where there's a lot of trucking and transportation stuff, find the economic development office around there. And again, just go have a meeting, help them, let them understand what you're doing. And hey, what are your goals or what are the goals of the community? How can my business fit into those goals? That's the mindset.
Perfect. Jarvis, you are the man. You are the man. I'm gonna say because you see me and my notes.
All the notes, nice.
You gotta take notes. You gotta take notes.
All right. So now I'll say let's stop there just because I could probably keep going, but I don't want to overload. That sheet of paper already looked pretty full, Christie. I guess as we wrap up, I mean, what are some quick takeaways or summaries that, just for our audience to kind of hear it, but I mean, truly so we can circle back and stay connected with you and your goals? What are maybe at least maybe one or two, three things that you see as being official next steps given our conversation?
That point that you made that I have to treat the nonprofit and run it like a for-profit business. That was a huge takeaway. So that's something that I definitely need to, get into the mindset of gearing towards, as well as those partnerships, sponsorships. And then you mentioned the ribbon cutting, and I'm like, oh Lord, I didn't even think about that component. And I'm like, so, okay, let me do that and make sure that I'm building these alliances and getting with those other the corporate sponsorships. I said, oh no, I hadn't thought about that either. So those are the things that I'm definitely going to start nailing down. Today's August 1st. So I got to get going because my original goal was to have everything set and structured and ready to roll by my birthday at the end of the month. So I still got time. I got 29 days. So my thing is I need to see and make sure things are where they need to be prior to my birthday, which is an extra birthday gift to myself.
All right. So fellow Virgo then?
Yes. August the 30th. I'll be 45.
All right. I'm a week right behind you then. So see that good vibes, good people, Virgo power right here.
Yes. We're very headstrong. Very headstrong.
Right.
So, okay, Jarvis, so you've given me a lot to think about. And, like I said, when you said things and I'm like, okay, this means I need to revert back to originally what I had already said and, take all the other added stuff that wasn't needed out and put back in what is definitely needed. So those are things that I am looking forward to doing.
All right. Well,
and speaking with you again, once you get everything else situated, I would love to come back and tell you, how much progress I've made on this glorious list of items that I have here.
Well, we're definitely going to make that happen. Christie, I hate to tell you, but you are stuck with me. So,
I'm good stuck with you. I'm good. I'm good.
Before I let you go today, Christie, let's just go ahead and give all the shout outs you want to give. Please share, websites, social media, anything so that our audience can stay connected as well and follow you through the journey. But we'd love to give you a chance before we sign off.
Okay, well, everyone can find me on LinkedIn. It is just Christie Rankins on LinkedIn. The website's still being built appropriately to make sure that we include everything that we need to include. But everybody can find me on LinkedIn as Christie Rankins.
All right, perfect. And I'll be sure to include that within the notes for the show here. So, Christy, thank you again. To everyone plugging in with us, thank you all for making us a part of your day. Until next time, this is Jarvis and Christy wishing you all more leads, more customers, and definitely more profits. Take care, everyone.
All right. Take care. Thank you, Jarvis.